Our next presenter is Zack Olson and is here to talk about the Cultivation Theory, which is how the common person's conceptions are affected by TV. Give it up for Zack.
Not so long ago, television didn't exist. People were still happy, they were still entertained. They didn't watch TV for hours on end or go to a movie theater to watch a movie. They didn't get addicted to TV shows and need to watch them every week. But ever since color television was put on the market in 1953, it has become a huge part of people's lives, and people do not think that they could live without it. Every week it seems like there is a huge television event that everyone watches. The American Idol finale, the Super Bowl, Dancing with the Stars are all shows that millions of people watch. And this past Super Bowl, over 108 million people watched the Ravens beat the 49ers. And because people are constantly watching television, television is greatly affecting their choices and decisions in life. Recently, I conducted a survey to see in which ways people are affected by television and to see how television affects people's behaviors and actions in the real world. For the past 7 months, I've been deciding, researching, evaluating, and I know this may sound surprising, but even thinking as to what to do for TED. And after doing these over and over again, I finally came up with a topic that I liked. This interesting topic is the Cultivation Theory. And for those of you who don't know what that is, I will give you a precise definition in the words of Kyung Moon. The Cultivation Theory explains that how people's conceptions of social reality are influenced according to exposure to television. Now, for those of you whose brains don't understand that language, I will dumb it down for you. That definition means in 5 words. People assume TV as reality. Many studies have proved new truths about what television does to you and the Cultivation Theory. In fact, it has been proven that people who watch many hours of TV are more likely to be influenced by the media and accept violence in the world. It has also been proven that people who watch TV believe that the world of television is very much similar to the real world, so their outlook on life is different. This is not always good because if they see someone in pain, they aren't going to be bothered by it because they see it all the time on television. Now, before I conducted my survey, I was supposed to research my topic, and I found some examples of how violent television and video games influence one's actions in the real world. In fact, the man that carried out the killings at the Aurora movie theater shooting, James Holmes, was said to have felt like he was in a video game when he did the crime. In fact, before the event, he dyed his hair red, like the Joker, a popular villain in Batman, showing that he was blending the television world and the real world. Another event that involves violent video games and television in the shooting was the Newtown, Connecticut shooting. Adam Lanza, the killer, was obsessed with violent video games. In fact, he owned over $1,000 worth of them. Another event was when Seung-Hoo Cho shot and killed 32 people at Virginia Tech on April 16, 2007. This man was brainwashed by violent video games and not in tune with the real world. After the massacre, his peers were questioned, and they claimed that Seung-Hoo was a fan of violent video games, especially ones where you could join terrorist groups and kill counter-terrorism groups with realistic guns. Finally, one more very important event was when Jeff Weiss shot and killed 9 people in Red Lake, Minnesota. One of his experiences before the event that could have caused him to do the crime was that before the event, like a few weeks before, he saw a horror movie that showed teens actually killing people at his school. And it was also said that he was a fan of violent video games. All of these killers enjoyed video games. One of their favorites was Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and I know this is a lot of my friends' favorite game too. I'm not saying that my friends are going to go on a killing rampage or anything, but instead of feeling bad for someone who's hurt, they might not care because they aren't bothered by it. And if people are more accepting of violence like that, then there will only be more violence. I think Kyung Moon would say that these killers' conceptions of social reality are greatly influenced according to exposure to television. Now on to my research. For it, I created a survey and had as many people as I could take it. But let me tell you, it's a lot harder to get people to take a survey than I thought. In total, I had 81 people, which isn't as much as I would have liked, but it turned out to be just fine. In order to get people to take my survey, I sort of advertised it. First, I created stickers on a website with a QR code on it, so people could scan it with their phone to take my survey. Then I hung up some flyers at the local stores in Summit, and finally, I sent out a blast email to a bunch of people asking them to forward it to others. Some of the questions on the survey included, what was your favorite genre of television, and if you usually gave tips at restaurants, as well as what is your gender. In these questions, I wanted to figure out how people act in everyday life compared to how violent they are and how much television they watch. I also made specific questions for specific people. So the students would get some questions pertaining to school, and the adults would get some questions pertaining to their jobs. Now into the stuff you really want to hear, my results. Out of the 81 lovely people that took my survey, 53 were female and 28 were male. People took my survey in 13 different states, and 2 people even took it in Canada. Their ages range from 5 to 72, with most people between the age 11 and 16. To organize my data better, I separated them into 3 different age groups. The first age group, 11 to 20, contained 29 people. The second age group, 21 to 45, also had 29 people. And the last age group, 46 and up, had 21 people. But I mostly focused on the 11 to 20-year-olds. First, I'll start with you oldies, the 46-year-olds and up. As you can see in this graph, most of these people watch television with the genre of drama. And now, the elderly are usually very calm, so I didn't expect to see many violent people, and I didn't. The most violent people, representing 10% of the group, were only a 5 out of 10 on my violence scale. Which means that they may have some violent thoughts or actions that may cause black eyes or bruises. They usually help those in need, and they want more when necessary. Now on to the 21 to 45-year-olds, which wasn't very different from the 46 and up, as most of these people watch television with the genre of sitcoms and dramas. And this age group wasn't very violent either, with the most violent people, 7%, being a 6 out of 10 on the scale, which means that they may have some violent thoughts or actions that may cause black eyes or bruises. They sometimes help those in need, and they want more when necessary. Now on to the 11 to 20-year-olds. As you can see, in this graph, most of these people watch television with the genre of sitcoms and dramas, which isn't surprising. But the scary part is how violent some of these kids are. 3% is an 8 out of 10, and another 3% is a 9 out of 10, which means that they always have violent thoughts or actions that could cause black eyes or bruises or even hospitalization. They want more in any circumstance, and they sometimes, occasionally, help those in need. Of the 6%, all are male, and 2 of these kids' favorite television show is Lost. They all enjoy playing rated M video games, like the ones that involve killing each other. Their favorite movies are rated R, and they all said they would enjoy going hunting if they could. One way that you can see that these kids represent the cultivation theory well is that their favorite television show is Lost. I don't know if any of you have ever seen Lost, but there's a significant amount of violence in it. There's also hunting wild animals and even hunting other people, so that could contribute to them possibly enjoying hunting. And also, they all enjoy playing rated M video games, and many of these video games involve killing each other and hunting other people, so that could also contribute to them enjoying hunting. And one more thing about these kids. They are very similar to Seung-Hoo Cho, the man that killed 32 people at Virginia Tech, because they all enjoy watching horror movies and playing violent video games, as well as going hunting and playing contact sports. Through the lens of the cultivation theory, these findings suggest that there will only be more tragedies as people continue to drown in violent media. Now, from all this data, I've developed 2 theories. One is that as people get older and mature, they get less violent. But another one that I believe more is that each generation is becoming more and more violent. It seems like my generation is the generation where there are the most gang fights and most massacres. 50 years ago, there weren't as many killings as there are now. In the past decade, there have been 29 mass shootings, whereas from 1982 to 1992, there were only 14 mass shootings. Also, the amount of violence on television has increased. In fact, the amount of violence displayed at 9 o'clock on television increased from 1998 to 2002, 134.4%. But I don't know why each generation is becoming more violent. It could be because of how much the media is a part of our lives and that violent video games are becoming more popular and that people are more accepting of violence because they see it all the time on television, but I don't know. However, I do know that something needs to be done to prevent these people from becoming more violent due to TV. Maybe the media needs to be more censored, or violent shows should be on later at night, or the movie rating system should be changed. There are so many options, but I'm not sure which one is the best. But I think something has to be done, because to me it is very clear that people are dying and getting hurt because of violent television. I hope you now see how much television affects you, even if it doesn't seem like it. Now, the next time you watch a violent show or a gory movie, just think of what it is doing to you. Thank you.